When I was a little boy, I grew up right across in North Carolina, and we lived in a little bungalow house that had no heat. The only source of heat in the house was the wood cook stove in the kitchen and then an open fireplace in the living room. So there was always a fire in the cook stove because that's where my mother cooked. And as soon as the weather began to get cold in the fall of the year, from then all the way till springtime, there was also always a fire in the fireplace. Except for one night of the year, the night before Christmas. Because my little brother Joe and I were born already genetically knowing that Santa Claus only comes down the chimney. Well, my mother was born cold and she never got over it. And she would get up early in the morning, like an hour before anybody else did, go in the kitchen, build up the fire in the cook stove. When it got really, really warm, you could sneak in there and catch her. She would pull a chair up in front of the stove, open the oven door, wrap a towel around her feet, and stick her feet in the oven to thaw them out from the night before. She was always cold, always cold. Late in the summertime, our dad came home from work one day and he said to my mother, he said, "Lucille, this year you're not going to be cold in the winter. In fact, you're never going to be cold again." They were having a big sale up at Massey Furniture Company, and I have bought us a Siegler oil heater. And some men will come in a day or two, and they will put it in the living room. And about 2 days later, the truck came, and the men got out, and they unloaded. It was beautiful. It was enamel, dark brown and cream color, about this high, big and square. They brought that heater in the living room. They put the oil tank up in the yard. And to install it, they put this sheet of sheet metal over the fireplace with a hole in it for the stovepipe and slid that heater right up on the hearth in front of where the fireplace used to be. And then they showed my daddy how to open the little door on the front, the little door with a mica window in it, and light a Kleenex and turn on the oil and drop that Kleenex in there. And then, whoof, it would come to life and it would heat up. And so he was ready and looking forward to cold weather. About the middle of October, we had our first cold night. And my dad said, "Let's go in the living room now. Let's go in the living room because we're getting ready to light the oil stove." It was a beautiful thing just to look at. We'd sit in the living room, in our chairs and just stare at it. We didn't have television. We'd just, watch anything. But that night, we were ready to see it come to life. And my dad opened the little door and he set fire to a Kleenex and he turned on the oil and he dropped it in and closed the door. And the heat came on. And our mother hugged the heater. And finally, when the heat got all the way through her, the rest of us got some of it too. And it was amazing. We were never going to be cold again. In a little while, the whole living room was warm. And then you could open doors into the bedrooms, and the heat would go into the bedrooms. We were in an absolutely new world. That winter was amazingly wonderful. And everything was fine till about the middle of December. And then one night, we were eating our supper, and we finished supper, and my little brother Joe, he was 6 years old. He said to our mother, "May I please be excused and play in the living room?" She said, "Oh, that's so nice for you to ask like that." "Of course you may." Because the living room was warm. And he left the kitchen and he went in the living room, and in less than a minute, we heard him screaming. And we went running into the living room, and my little brother's rolling over in the floor, screaming his head off and pointing to the oil heater. And our mother said, "What's the matter? What's the matter? Did you get burned?" And he said, "No, we're going to kill Santa Claus. He doesn't know we don't have a fireplace anymore, and he's going to come down the chimney, and he's going to be trapped back in there, and he's going to burn him up and all of our presents, and he's going to go all over the world dead and tell everybody we're the ones that killed Santa Claus." And my mother looked at my daddy and said, "Joe, you have to take out the oil heater till after Christmas." My daddy did not take out the oil heater. He took us out to the garage. At least they called it a garage, but there was so much junk in there, a car never fit in it. And we got 2 pieces of plywood, and we painted them white. And then when the white paint dried, my dad lettered the sign, which my little brother and I then got to take a tiny little brush and go over the top of his letters, and we made 2 signs. One sign said, "Notice, this chimney is closed. Go in the front door." And the other sign said, "Welcome, door unlocked. Come in here." And we watched our daddy put the ladder up against the house and climb up there with coat hanger wire so he could wire that sign to the chimney that said, "This chimney closed." And then he came back down, and over the front door, he nailed the other sign on the door that said, "Welcome, door unlocked." Isn't it amazing we didn't get robbed? Come in here. Well, my dad said that ought to take care of it. And we started back in the house, and all of a sudden my brother just fell down on the porch crying again. And my mother said, "What's the matter now?" And he said, "Maybe Santa Claus didn't go to school. He doesn't know how to read." And our mother said, "He knows how to read. He has to read the maps to find everybody's house, and he has to write the instructions for all the toys he makes." And that settled it, but we were uncertain. And when Christmas Eve came, instead of hanging our stockings over the fireplace, we hung them over the doorknob. And we checked to be sure the door was unlocked. The next morning, my little brother Joe and I got up, and we were very dubious. But we slipped in the living room, and it had worked. There were our toys right inside the door. Well, that year when we put away all the Christmas decorations, we took down those signs, and we packed them away till the next year. And the next year when I was 9 and Joe was 7, we put the signs back up, and Santa Claus came in the door. Then we packed them away with all the Christmas decorations. And the next year when I was 9 and Joe was 8, we put the signs back up, and Santa Claus came in the door. We packed them away with all the Christmas decorations. And the next year when I was 11 and Joe was 9, we put them up, Santa Claus came in the door. And the next year when I was 12, we moved to our new house. We were packing everything up to move, and we got to the Christmas decorations, and my mother looked at us. I was now 12 and Joe was 10. She said, "Boys, you were much younger when we made these signs. I expect you know a lot of things now that you didn't know way back then. Do you really think we need to take these signs to our new house?" And my little brother said, "Of course not. Our new house has a fireplace." And we moved, and Santa Claus started coming down the chimney again. And to this very day, if you come to our house and spend the night on Christmas Eve, Santa Claus will properly come down the chimney and see even you.